What's up everybody and welcome to another edition of AGR's Pop Culture Reviews. Now I'm really sorry that I wasn't able to upload this a little bit sooner, but a member of my family had a bit of a health scare, and although he's doing a little bit better, we're still monitoring the progress. It did give me a lot of downtime though, and in the process I was able to finish my review of this game. And let me tell you something guys, I kept getting my ass handed to me over and over again. Now first of all, let me start off by saying that I am absolutely fascinated by all aspects of ancient Japan. Mostly the culture, the different time periods, the feudal system, but just like everyone else, one of the things that absolutely captivates me is the warrior class. Whether we're talking about the ninja, the samurai, the shinobi, and especially the ronin, which is my personal favorite, and this game is really a love letter to all my interests. You guys have no idea how absolutely happy it made me to be able to roll back the clock and lose myself in ancient Japan in this hauntingly beautiful and incredibly frustrating game. So after several months of anticipation, let's get into it. This is my official review of SEKIRO. Shadows Die Twice. Let's take a closer look. Now, we all know the infamous From Software, and the parallels between this game and the Dark Souls series are abundant, even the way the game starts. You start off as a prisoner that has to get out of a dungeon. Not exactly the most unique or original way to start a game. And of course, the most recent title that you can really compare this game to one-on-one is the game Nioh. Obviously because it takes place in roughly the same time period, or at least the same setting. And admittedly, initially when I first put this game into my drive, I thought that this was going to be a mere clone of those two excellent titles. But thankfully, I was completely wrong about that prejudgment, and Sekiro really carves, or slices I should say, its own identity, and it is friggin' awesome. The real strength of Sekiro is that you can play this game however you want, and you can mold it to your playstyle, whether you want to take on enemies one-on-one all the time, or bypass them and use the stealth mechanic to either take them out or just move to another section, which is something that's pretty refreshing, and I think that most players would want to cater to how they know how to play or what best suits them. Now the name of the game and the key to success in Sekiro is not merely to hack and slash, instead it's using a lot of strategy and making sure you throw off your opponent's posture in order for you to have a nice window for a strike in order to take them down. Now of course that's easier said than done, and in these frenetic duels, it's not always an easy thing. You have to remember you also have a posture meter that can also quickly be drained, giving your opponents the opportunity to deal a devastating blow. But one thing that you do have to understand about combat in Sekiro is that your greatest opponent is your own ego and your self-confidence. One false step and you will get your ass handed to you, so that's something that you do have to factor in to how you play this game. Also a word of caution, never make the mistake of underestimating any opponent regardless of their level, and always be mindful of your surroundings. Now one of the other aspects of this game that make it pretty unique from the other titles is that there's a fair amount of traversing the land and a significant amount of platforming, which I thought was pretty interesting, something I hadn't seen in this style of game before. Inherently, the ability to platform or to scale off of a wall or hang on a ledge really will change the dynamics of the overall gameplay, especially how you take down these enemies. Thankfully, and something that I've kind of been crying for in this style of game for a long time, is the fact that there's an actual story here with really brilliant and hauntingly beautiful character interactions. I also really like the dialogue here. The thing that really complements it is that all of it in the narrative is told in Japanese, which makes it so much more immersive. Throughout your exploration of this beautiful world, you'll find many key characters that you can interact with, and they will give you some supposition, some background story, and really carry the narrative in a very interesting way. And this is something that makes the whole experience that much more authentic.
御意のままに。
御意か。そなたは変わらぬな。
は。
いや、懐かしいと思うてな。さあ、参ろう。
The one thing that I have to really applaud this game for is that they use their cutscenes sparingly, and because of it, it makes it that much more beautiful. The cutscenes here are absolutely astounding, and they really bring a lot of weight and gravitas to the overall narrative. You understand that the situation here is pretty damn dire, and the fact that they're so thematic and so cinematic about it just makes it that much more immersive. This is a beautiful game, and one of the reasons that makes it so successful is the way that they tell this narrative, especially through the cutscenes. It's so beautifully, elegantly done. Sekiro is a game that's full of surprises and little hidden secrets. The one that I really like is the fact that you're not just relying on your katana in order for you to combat enemies. You do have some special abilities, mainly a prosthetic arm, which can endow you with certain abilities, which is pretty cool. You can upgrade these abilities throughout the game, but you do have to go back to the gentleman that made the arm for you in the first place. But nevertheless, it works very well and adds another layer or dynamic to the combat. Just like other games in this genre, there are save points that you can find throughout the land. Fortunately though, they are not far and few between. In other words, the distances between these save points are not so astronomical that if you do die, and you will die a lot, you have to backtrack so much, which understandably can lead to a lot of frustration. But they're not mere save points. You can interact with them to upgrade certain abilities, and also to traverse the land if you want to fast travel to certain sections that haven't necessarily opened up for you because you're not quite at the level to take on those challenges. As I mentioned before, as you progress in this game and take down enemies, you will be able to upgrade your skills and abilities. Now fortunately, the interface here is so streamlined and simple. Fortunately, Sekiro also bucks another trend of making these menus so overcomplicated that you end up never unlocking certain abilities because you have no idea what they do. There is definitely a learning curve for mastering all these skills, and if you want to, there is a wonderful tutorial that you can combat this kind of like zombie being without worrying about hurting yourself or minimizing or losing any of your currency. Now that's one thing that you have to keep in mind. Every time you die in this game, you do lose some money or some coin, and then you have to replenish it all over again. So that's definitely something to keep in mind, and it also prevents you from going all Rambo style. Now, unlocking your abilities is key. That means having to fast travel back to the dilapidated temple in order to upgrade them. But the prosthetic arm is more than just a weapon. It also helps you traverse the land. It is freaking awesome. It's essentially a makeshift grapple gun. One of the great things about it is that it gives this game a wonderful sense of verticality, and it plays a key factor in the way that you take down enemies. Certain sections have a lot of enemies, and what you don't ever want to do is take on these enemies at the same time. You will not survive that kind of combat because they are unpredictable and different enemies have different tactics. But if you want to be smart about it, you can isolate these enemies and perform aerial takedowns. Now these aerial takedowns are incredibly devastating and really essentially boils down to a one-hit kill. But do keep in mind, if other enemies see what just happened, they will react and attack you. So precision strikes are key and timing is everything. Using your environment to your advantage is another key to success here. The natural topography of the land, as in tall grass, can be another asset in taking down enemies that don't even know that you were there. I would recommend making stealth kills whenever you can, as it'll save you a lengthy sword fight, and it will help you out in certain sections that might be a little more difficult. Now fortunately, the combat in Sekiro never felt cheap. In other words, it was never so insurmountable that I got too frustrated. Now, I say that with a caveat because it doesn't mean that it is not brutally punishing at times, and enemies can be extremely difficult. Fortunately, there is a mechanic in the game that if you die initially, you will be resurrected with one more life. There's a reason they call it Shadows Die Twice. But you do have to be prepared. The minute that you're resurrected into this world, that battle or duel begins once again, and you have to be on top of your game, otherwise you're just gonna die again. The key to survival in Sekiro is really in being patient and understanding the tactics, knowing when to strike, and above all, really studying your opponent. There are certain indications and certain symbols that pop up when there is an enemy or an attack that cannot be dodged, and you do have to look out for it. They can be devastating, and essentially, if you get hit by this attack, it'll be a one-hit kill and you are gone. Much of the combat in Sekiro is trial and error and learning from your mistakes and then applying what you've learned. I won't lie, it can be extremely frustrating sometimes, but when you've mastered this level of patience, you will be rewarded with the satisfaction of taking down an enemy that was very challenging. This game has a wonderful duality to it. Juxtaposed with a brutal combat is this wonderful world to explore. Certain sections of the game can be beautifully tranquil, and you are able to explore the world and find these very elegant remnants of spirits that you can interact with. They're kind of like echoes that you would find in The Division 2. It adds to the overall narrative and really provides a lot of emotional weight to an already interesting narrative.
そうですか。すまぬ。流因を狙う者は絶えぬ。平田の者たちを私が巻き込んでしまった。
But of course, on the flip side of that, for every hauntingly beautiful moment, there are sheer moments of terror and nightmarish encounters. The boss fights in this game are ripped directly from the deepest recesses of my nightmares, and they are incredibly brutal. Now, this game is by no means linear, but make sure that if you venture out before you're ready for these sections, that you're completely prepared for these encounters, because they are unequivocally and unapologetically unforgiving, and you will not survive if you're not prepared. Sekiro is a very unique experience. It's both a beautiful game visually and spiritually, and I recommend that everybody try this game. It's a genre that's not for everybody, because it is very easy to get frustrated in this game and feel overwhelmed, but I highly recommend this game, especially if you're a fan of the Dark Souls series. This is something that is a very unique experience, and even if you're not a fan of Dark Souls, you might want to try this one. It's a little bit more forgiving. Overall, I really love this game, and I think that it was a very unique take on an already established genre, so definitely pick this one up. I highly recommend it. Now before I go, I just want to thank FMB Collectibles Incorporated for sponsoring today's video. Alright everybody, so that's my official review on Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. As always, I thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next AGR's Pop Culture Reviews.